Oh, 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 it's a Tuesday. It's a
Hey,
Tuesday.
buddy.
Hey,
Hey.
Josh, how's it going? You know, it's just,
Cry, Eagles, cry. Score a touchdown, you will not. What happened, buddy? You were 10 and 1. What happened? You
we'll
lost
get
to the
into it. We will get into it. We will get into it. You you can have your day today. My day was apparently Sunday and not Monday. What can you do? Anyways, we are here. We are live. You already know, big Eagles fan here, Brandon Lewis. Josh Ungar, massive Cleveland Browns fan. Apparently, he's a Philadelphia Eagles hater. Does not love my team. We
No.
are here. It's Championship Rings. We're in collaboration with Voltage Live every Tuesday night, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Make sure to subscribe to Championship Rings right here on YouTube at Championship Rings 216. You can follow us on our social media platforms. We're on Twitter at Rings Champion. We're on Instagram at Rings Champion. We are on Facebook at Rings Champion 216. We are starting tonight off with a place that I did not want to start going into last week's show. I thought we would have a chance to either host the LA Rams, to go to Detroit, to even potentially go to San Francisco. And I'm gonna let Josh have his day. I know Josh's excited to rip my team to shreds. You guys, if you listen to Brandon's World earlier today, you heard my thoughts on it. The one thing I will say is, and I know Josh will agree with this, I want to shout out the man who last night played his last NFL game, the greatest center of all time, Jason Kelsey. Jason, from all of us here at Philadelphia Nation, unfortunately, I know that's not the way that you wanted to go out. I was shocked at the way that our guys came out, and I have a theory on why. And I believe that this team, something happened internally, and I don't know what it is. We'll find out soon enough. But I don't think it's just the coaching issue. I think there's some coaching issues. I don't think it's all coaching. I think some of it is players. James Bradbury got old very quickly. Darius Slay got old quickly. Fletcher Cox had a so-so end of the season, aged very quickly at the end of the year. The offensive line, one of the strengths of the team, PFF rated it number one on the year, could not figure out the blitz with the best offensive line coach in football for whatever reason it may be. Jalen Hurts did not play well at the end of the year, did not look as explosive at the end of the year. Was it the knee? Was it the finger? Was it the offense? There's a lot of questions that we're gonna find out. And before I get to the specifics, I know I got to give respect to my partner because he's chomping at the bit to let me have it. So I'll let you destroy my team, and then I'll come back with a more rational evaluation.
Let's just call it the NFC least because the Dallas Cowboys won the NFC East. What happened? They got killed by the Green Bay Packers. The Philadelphia Eagles, reigning defending NFC champions. What happened? They got whooped by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. New York Giants, they took a massive step back. And we don't even need to get into the Washington Commanders. It is still the NFC least. But hey, cry, Eagles, cry. What happened, buddy? What I thought you were going to continue this success. You're 10 and 1. You go to play San Francisco, and well, that's when the downslide happened. I'll tell you, part of it is you don't want to fully say it was coaching. I think a big part of it was specifically on the defensive side in terms of coaching. Because you go from Jonathan Gannon to, who was it before?
Sean Desai.
To Sean Desai. And then you say, nope, Sean Desai, we're demoting you. And you go to Coach Pencil, Matt Patricia. That's 3 different defensive coordinators in a span of less than a year. How do you think that's gonna that's not gonna work in the mind of somebody like a Jalen Carter, N'Kobe Dean, or Fletcher Cox, or many of the other guys on the defensive side of the ball for the Eagles. That's 3 different styles of defense they have to try and learn. That that just doesn't work. And Shane Steichen was a huge loss for you guys. Your offense did not look the same at all this season. I, I don't know what it is with Jalen, because he looked like a world beater last season. We thought at one point he was going to win the MVP, and if he hadn't fumbled like early in the Super Bowl, Philly probably would be the reigning defending Super Bowl champions right now. I fully believe that. But that's of course not what happened. But I really can't explain this. Like, you look great 10-1, but at the same time, it didn't look like a legitimate 10-1, because even in your wins, you could see flaws. Whether it was Jalen Hurts not connecting with Devontae Smith or A.J. Brown, or the Eagles not consistently staying with the run game when they should have. You know, so I'm not totally surprised by this collapse, but the fact that it happened so quickly is what's the bigger surprise to me. But let's not take away credit from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, because they played fantastic last night. Todd Bowles came up with an excellent defensive game plan. And the way Baker Mayfield has sort of revived his career, I'm happy for him, because, like I said a few times, not just on this show, but on my show, the Sports Room Talk Show, over on my YouTube channel, Unger to the Max, I've said I didn't want to get rid of Baker Mayfield. He tried to be too much of a Cleveland tough guy, if you will. He tried to be too much of a, hey, I'm just like the rest of these Clevelanders. I have a major shoulder injury, but I'm going to continue to play through it. And I'm like, no, Baker, take the rest of the season off, go get the surgery, come back next season. Of course, that's not what happened, and the rest is history. But to see Baker basically get like a 4th chance at this point, and not only lead his team to an NFC South championship, granted not that impressive because the NFC South was absolute trash this season, but then to put on the performance that he did last night, full props to Baker Mayfield. Mike Evans has continued to be a top 10 wide receiver. Chris Godwin continues to be a fantastic wide receiver. Tampa's going to be a dangerous team for Detroit in the divisional round. That only Ravens against Texans is better.
There's a lot of things you've said there. And I understand you want to take the Tampa side of it, and I'm having a hard time taking the Tampa side of it right now because there's so much going on in my brain about what happened to my football team.
Understandable.
Coach Pencil. Let's start there. Coach Pencil. I believe Drew Lock broke my team. That was the moment. Drew Lock, that game, Seattle, the drive, 92 yards, broke my team.
It wasn't the San Francisco game?
No, we were winning that game against Seattle. We had control of most of the game. All my defense needed to do was prevent a 92-yard drive against Drew Lock. And they targeted James Bradbury every single play of that drive, and James Bradbury gave up every catch of that drive, and Seattle won that game. Then we go to the Giants, and we hammer the Giants in the first half. Second half,
are you talking about the game in New
I'm talking
York
about on Christmas.
Okay,
right
in
around
Philly.
Christmas.
Okay, got it.
In the second half, Coach Pencil's defense lets the Giants back into the game, on a pick six where the ball was tipped by Jalen Hurts and the weird fumble at the start of the second half. We win that game. Then comes the Arizona game, and Coach Pencil's defense cannot stop the damn Arizona Cardinals with Jonathan Gannon. Those two games right there, Seattle, Arizona, that is when my defense flat out quit. And you watched it in their body language against the Giants. And I thought, hey, it's the playoffs. These guys might rise up. Again, Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox, Jason Kelsey, three big veterans. Lane Johnson's one of the offensive line. I thought for just pride's sake, these guys may just show up. The defense did not show up in the first half. The offense, I don't even know what to make of the offense. I'll say this about the offense. At certain points this year, it wasn't all year long. They were definitely inconsistent. But I thought at times this year, the offense actually looked fine. I kept telling you, the numbers actually say they're the same as they were last year.
Yeah, but here's the issue.
Let me finish.
Go ahead.
The difference was the turnovers of Jalen Hurts.
That's not the full story.
We saw that. Again, it was like Dak Prescott. Remember last year, Dak Prescott led the league in interceptions. That was a good offense. They just couldn't convert drives. So, for Philadelphia this year, going forward, this is what I believe should happen. I am not putting all the blame at the fingertip of Nick Sirianni. I think Nick has some to blame, but I also don't think that you can win 3 straight winning seasons, go to the playoffs every single year, and be a horrible coach. I just refuse to believe that. I want an entire new defensive staff. I think the whole defense needs to change. Gut out the defense. Get rid of the coordinators. Get rid of Bradbury. Get rid of Slay. Keep your good up front. Brandon Graham already said he's coming back for one more year. Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Josh Sweat, Hassan Reddick. Nakobe Dean will be back at linebacker. You need to gut your secondary. Offensively, contrary to what a lot of people believe, Jalen Hurts has had 7 play callers in 8 years. Jalen Hurts' best year was in year 2 of the Shane Steichen system. Jalen Hurts believes in this system. He believes in Brian Johnson. I would actually keep Brian Johnson as the offensive coordinator.
No.
I think they need to go out. You need to get a third wide receiver outside of A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. There was no other trustable third wide receiver. Couldn't trust Quez Watkins, could not trust Zacchaeus. That is a big issue where I think the slot needs to become more prevalent. I'd like to see the scheme change a little bit. Maybe they get a little bit more under center. Merge the run game with the play action because you're going to have a younger offensive line. Cam Burgess slides to center. I assume Kevin Steen then will slide into right guard. We know the Eagles will draft offensive linemen. But the one thing I do not want this team to do, I'll be on record right now, I'm not saying do not fire Nick Sirianni if you get the right coach, but do not hire Bill Belichick as your head coach. It will not work in this locker room and that Philadelphia culture. Bill is not meant for Philadelphia. Bill would probably keep Coach Pencil on the team. Who knows? Maybe he put him as offensive coordinator. It won't work in the city of Philadelphia. I get it. The roster is good. You have the quarterback, and Bill's expertise is defense. But in that town and that city, Belichick will not work. It will not work in that culture. I would not go after Bill Belichick. If you can get Jim Harbaugh on the phone, I think you take a phone call. But I don't think this is a complete rebuild. We've seen Super Bowl losers come out and struggle the next year. Maybe ours some more hangovers.
Like this.
Maybe ours some more. Hey, there's been worse. Remember the Rams? They had like the worst record ever after winning the Super Bowl.
Yes, but they didn't have an epic collapse like this.
Maybe our hangover just happened later in the year. And again, things are going to change. James Bradbury age. This team can turn around very quickly. Howie Roseman's a very good general manager. This team has a real chance next year. They just have to fix some issues. It's not all bad. There is light at the end of the tunnel, even though people don't want to see it. People said the same thing about the 2020 team, and we turned around and we made the playoffs. Now, did we get killed by Tampa in the wild card round? Yeah, we did, because you know what? Outside of Seattle, Tampa Bay has also turned into our house of horrors.
Okay. So, first of all, yeah, you need to get rid of Brian Johnson and quick.
See,
because
I don't think Brian Johnson's the issue. I don't think he's a bad player.
Are you kidding me?
No,
Go back
I
and
don't.
look at. Go back and look at the stats from a bunch of your games. Even in your wins, you were outgained.
I've seen him call good games this year. Buffalo, Kansas City, Minnesota, Washington. You can do a lot worse than Brian Johnson. Now, can you do better? Yes. But the main reason why I don't want to fire Brian Johnson is because my quarterback has consistently said, can you give me the same play caller for 2 years in a row? On top of it, Brian Johnson's gotten more head coaching interviews than Ben Johnson, the Lions offensive coordinator. So what are these other teams seeing in Brian Johnson that, me or you are not seeing?
I don't know. But like I said, even in their wins, the Eagles were still getting outgained.
Part of that is because my defense kept giving up 30 points a game.
Okay, that's an issue. Nonetheless, also, I saw Dan Orlovsky illustrate this on NFL Live earlier. Jalen Hurts goes back to pass. All the wide receivers are running hook routes. Why? Like, he showed it.
I don't know. That I don't know, and I can't defend it.
All the Eagles wide receivers were looking this way, like towards the end zone. Go back and watch that play. All the Buccaneers defenders are looking where? Back at Jalen Hurts. I don't get it. Like,
again, I don't get it either. But listen, we want to fire coaches all the time, and I get it. I completely understand. He needs to be fired. But okay, if you're gonna fire Brian Johnson, then you gotta tell me who's replacing him, because I don't know who's replacing him.
I mean, maybe you can poach Ben Johnson out of Detroit.
I don't think Ben would leave for Detroit once he gets a head coaching job.
Which we'll get to. I have some thoughts about that, but we'll get to that when we talk about the Lions.
Let's get to the other NFC East team. Let's get Green Bay, Dallas.
How about them Cowboys?
How about them Cowboys? Now, you said last week, you said you love Jordan Love, but if I recall, you also predicted Dallas would blow Green Bay out. And I told you, be careful. I told you this Green Bay team is a live dog. I told you the way Jordan Love was playing at the end of the regular season. I have never seen anything like Jordan Love in my life. I stand by it. I said I was wrong on Jordan Love. I've admitted it now for about 5 weeks.
I was the one that
his own coach said he wasn't even sure about him on Halloween. Remember that game against the Vikings when they got killed in Green Bay?
I was the one that first told you about Jordan Love. What are you talking about?
On Halloween, Matt LaFleur's like, we don't have the guy. And then they went to the bye week and they did something. And I don't know what they did, but all of a sudden, Jordan Love, some of those passes on Sunday, that looked like Aaron Rodgers. That was like a confident quarterback who's been in the system now year 4, even though it's his first year starting. Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers flat out won that game from the Cowboys, because I believe Dan Quinn was already thinking about the Seattle Seahawks job, didn't have a game plan together, and Green Bay just ran over Dallas. They did whatever they want, run, pass, etc. And I'm just going to take this one step further.
Okay, and then I'm going to go off on a tangent, so just be prepared.
I would not be surprised. I'm going to put my money where my mouth is right now.
I know exactly where you're going with this.
Green Bay going into San Francisco. I'm giving Green Bay a little bit of a shot to win this game flat out outright.
That's not where I was expecting you to go. I thought you were going to say something about Mike McCarthy. Okay, I'm about to unleash because all the post game comments I've been seeing, whether it was on Get Up on Monday morning or First Take or Undisputed or Speak, First Things First, I could keep going on and on and on. It was all, what did the Cowboys not do? It was discrediting the Dallas Cowboys. Why are we not crediting the Green Bay Packers for going in there and winning? I don't get it.
Because the Cowboys are the first ever number 2 seed to lose to a number 7 seed. That's why they were not supposed to lose this game. People were picking Tampa to beat Philly. Nobody. So why do you were picking Green Bay to cover? But nobody was picking Green Bay to flat out beat Dallas.
Exactly.
That's why.
Exactly. Nobody was picking the Packers. So why are we not crediting the Packers for going into Dallas and winning? I get it.
I think it's 50-50 because I think you say the Philadelphia scheme was horrible. I think Dallas' scheme was horrible. Whatever
on defense, yes.
How about on offense? When Greg Olsen, the second series of the game, is saying, why are they coming out in 12 personnel?
Yeah. Okay, fair. I mean, but still, like, all I'm hearing from various talking heads is, like, what did the Dallas Cowboys not do? Like, let's look at the Dallas Cowboys issues and all that. How about we talk about what the Green Bay Packers did well? Jordan Love went out there and established himself as an up-and-coming quarterback. He is – I don't get it. How does Green Bay do this? They go get Brett Favre. We know what he became. They next turn to Aaron Rodgers. We know what he became. And now we think they don't have their franchise quarterback. And Jordan Love goes, yeah, I am him.
How many times did I tell you Jordan Love's last game as a college quarterback? What was his last game as a college quarterback, Mr. Ungar? He lost to my damn alma mater, Kent State University, in a bowl game where Dustin Crum, who's now playing in the fan-controlled football league, beat his ass. At that point, I said, okay, this guy can't play. And by the way, for 3 years, we watched Jordan Love in preseason, and it's preseason. He's playing vanilla defenses. He didn't look anything impressive. First half of this year, he looked like a guy who was going to be a career backup. And then he just comes out all of a sudden and starts throwing like Aaron Rodgers. I've never seen anything like it.
And look at what they have at the skill position. Aaron Jones played out of his mind.
Without A.J. Dillon, by the way. That's a key point at running back, which they will need, I believe, to beat San Francisco. Very similar scheme that Shanahan runs, LaFleur runs. You have Jaron Reed, Romeo Doubs, Christian Watson. All of a sudden, these guys learn how to separate from man coverage. Tight end, Tucker Craycraft, Musgrave, the other kid that they drafted. So they got, by the way, they're doing this without their all-pro left tackle, David Bakhtiari.
Here's the one issue, though, is you saw Dallas, like, falling for those motions and stuff and the other pre-snap things that Green Bay was doing. I don't think San Francisco is going to fall for those pre-snap motions.
That's a good point, but I'll tell you something else. Green Bay, they have been one of the best first quarter scoring teams this year. What have I told you about San Francisco's quarterback? He struggles without a lead, without a run game, and under pressure. What did Green Bay do against Dallas? They got the opening drive. They went down. They scored a touchdown.
That was key for me. Let me just speak on that super quick.
No, I completely agree with you. I thought it was the right call, by the way, for Green Bay to receive the ball. Go down there. They won the coin toss. By the way, I thought Philly should have done that last night. We won the coin toss. We deferred. I usually like to defer, but in a playoff game, I am starting to think you might want the ball first. Go down there and set the tone. So that was important. If Green Bay gets the ball first against San Francisco and they go down. They don't even have to score a touchdown, in my opinion. If they get a field goal, if they get the lead early, if this thing gets 10-0 early Green Bay, San Francisco is in trouble. You heard it here first.
I think that's really interesting. Think about this. We'll get to the Detroit stuff later. I know, but think about this. There is a possibility that we could get an all NFC North NFC Championship game.
Yes, there
Green
is.
Bay at Detroit. How
Before
much fun would that be?
Before we get there, we're going to get there in a couple minutes. We got to talk about your game. Listen, so we both said this going in, that CJ Stroud was going to make a difference, obviously, from the Christmas Eve rematch. We both said the Browns defense is horrible. I've never understood how they gave up an average of 10 points a game at home this year and couldn't stop anybody on the road, regardless of who they were playing. I was very surprised because, again, Jim Schwartz, who I know very well, former defensive coordinator of the Philadelphia Eagles when we won our Super Bowl against Coach Pencil and his defense over there in New England. I was very surprised by how bad the Browns defense was. And watching Philly's defense last night, it would have been the same game. Everybody running wide open, people not tackling. I mean, CJ Stroud, was it Bobby Slowick? He's the next bright, smart, young, up-and-coming offensive-minded, guy who's going to be a head coach here, I think, in the next year or two in the NFL. CJ Stroud, I don't remember him ever being touched. Where's this great pass rush, Darius Smith? Where's the best defensive player in football, Myles Garrett? Because I think he skipped this game because I didn't see him on the field. That's my biggest criticism of Myles Garrett, and I've said it for years. I told you this the whole year. Since Myles Garrett was leading the league in sacks and had such a great first half of the season, where did he go in the second half of the season? Because he completely disappeared.
I don't know, but I did pick the Browns to win this game. I did. And you know what? I was wrong. But did I think the Texans were going to blow us out like this? No, I did not. But CJ Stroud, I know I said like last week or something that Zay Flowers could come up and steal the offensive rookie.
Yeah, and I said, what are you talking about? You've been talking about CJ Stroud for 17 weeks, and then you're like, I don't think he's going to win offensive rookie of the year.
Yeah, I was wrong. He is absolutely going to win offensive rookie of the year.
And for the record, let's put this straight real quick. Let's put this straight. NFL awards have already been casted for the year.
Oh,
playoffs do not count towards any of the postseason yet. Just so we keep that straight. I know where you're going, but I just want to set the table for everybody at home.
Okay. Think about this. We are on Saturday, I believe it is.
4:30 Saturday. It's the first divisional game.
Yes. We are going to see the league MVP, Lamar Jackson, go up against the guy who, if he had stayed healthy, I think could have come up and won MVP.
Yeah, I still don't think that's a possibility. He still watched 6 games.
I don't care.
I don't think you can win MVP with 6 games.
Were you expecting him to win were you expecting the Houston Texans to win the AFC South?
No, but it took a Philly-like collapse from Jacksonville. What's happening to Mike Dean? I love the Jags and I want Philly. They both freaking collapsed.
I told you the Texans were going to win the division. I told you.
But it took a bigger collapse than Philly. I mean, they were up like 3 games. I don't care.
Hey, let's stay on this game.
You're right. Let's stay on this game because CJ Stroud put up 24 points in the first half, and then this game really flipped because Joe Flacco did what Joe Flacco has done since he's been in Cleveland, and that's turned the ball over. Unfortunately, Houston took them both back for touchdowns.
Yeah.
But I got to get into this conversation. And I know you're not going to like it, and I know fans aren't going to like it. I'm sorry, Cleveland. But do you realize what that performance meant by one Joe Flacco? You know next year you're going back to Deshaun Watson.
Obviously.
Like, there's going to be fans that are going to convince themselves we can win with Flacco, move on from Watson. You're not doing that.
I didn't, dude. You know my feelings about Flacco. Even everybody.
Yeah, I know. For some reason, you didn't want the Browns to win the Super Bowl because Joe Flacco is a Raven. I never understood that take.
No. You have it wrong.
No, you flat out said, I don't feel good about this. Joe Flacco is a Raven. Somebody check the tape for me. I had people texting me, tell me what the hell is he talking about.
Okay, what I said was, would I love it if the Browns won a Super Bowl? Yes. I just wouldn't like that it would be quarterbacked by Joe Flacco.
You pretty much just said you didn't want to win the Super Bowl because Joe Flacco's the quarterback.
That's not the same
yes,
thing.
Yes, you did.
No, I'm saying, no, Brandon. I'm saying I did want the Browns to win the Super Bowl. I just didn't like that it was would have been quarterbacked by Joe Flacco. That's not the same thing.
Yeah, it is to me. It made me think, well, we should have this success because Flacco's a quarterback. We can't root for the quarterback. Listen, I always said, I don't care if the guy went to freaking prison. If you win me a Super Bowl, you win me a Super Bowl. Oh, it's forgiven.
Well, that's where you and I are different, clearly. But anyway, Nico Collins, the dude was playing basketball out there, and the Browns defense, I don't know what sport they were playing because
they were playing man coverage the whole game, and once get beat in man coverage. That's what they were playing.
Well, like I said, Nico Collins was playing basketball out there because he was going up and catching everything. Him and CJ Stroud were on the same damn wavelength, and I can't wait to see what the Texans look like next season when Tank Dell gets back to full health.
I'll say this again, just like I just said about Green Bay. This is a rematch of Week 1. People forget it was Houston at Baltimore. These two teams are very different from where they were at the start of the season. Baltimore now off a bye. Mark Andrews coming back as well. Isaiah Likely is another tight end that they have. Odell Beckham now back into the mix. You have Todd Monken as a good play caller. They are now in the system together. CJ Stroud's a lot different quarterback than what he was Week 1 over there with DeMeco Ryans in Houston. If the Texans get a lead early on the Baltimore Ravens in this game, I'm telling you, they are 10-point underdogs. I like Houston's side here to at least cover. And again, if the Texans get an early lead on the Ravens, I think there's a possibility the Houston Texans do go into Baltimore. They go to the AFC Championship game.
It could happen. I don't think Baltimore is going to have a repeat of 2019, though. I do not.
Well, let's go to the battle of the Motor City. Now, we both said the Rams were going to win. I thought they would cover. So did you, obviously. This was a very close game. This game came down to who could execute better in the red zone. And yes, the Lions, you got away with 2 officiating breaks. We understand it. You won the game. Congratulations. Matthew Stafford played an incredible game. Just came up a little bit short. He got beat all to hell. I thought the story in this game, though, the first 3 drives of the game, Ben Johnson, touchdown, touchdown, touchdown. That will win you a job as a coordinator. Now, I am a little bit nervous. You alluded to this. For the Lions, they give them a lot of yards against the Rams. It's why if Philly was to beat Tampa, I liked our matchup going into Detroit because of our receivers. I still would have
picked Detroit.
I know you would have, but I liked the matchup with our receivers against their corners. I like Tampa's matchup with their receivers against Detroit's corners. Now, these two teams played in Week 6 down in Tampa. The Lions handled them pretty easily, but that was really before Tampa got into a rhythm. I think if the Bucs are able to put up points on the board, again, to me, it's all about starts in these games this weekend. Baker Mayfield can go into Detroit and sling the rock around. They're going to be comfortable indoors. This is a real 38-35 shootout to it. I'm rooting for the Lions. I like Dan Campbell. I like Jared Goff. I think it's a good story. If San Francisco were to win against Green Bay, I think they're more equipped than Tampa to beat San Francisco. Because there's one thing I don't want to see. It's Brock Purdy playing in the Super Bowl. You know how I feel about San Francisco. But nonetheless, this was a great game. Puka Nacua was a star. Cooper Kupp's a star. But Josh, I got to ask you one question.
Go.
It's the same. You know what I'm going to ask you. It's the same question I just asked you about the Cleveland Brown defender, number 95. Did anybody call 99 of LA wearing white to this game? Because I didn't see him.
Stop trying to discredit Aaron. I am cutting you off right. I am cutting you off. I am cutting you off right here, right now. You are
show up to the game.
You cannot discredit Aaron Donald like that.
What did he do? Did you see him? I saw him make one play in the second quarter. On that
stop trying to discredit Aaron Donald. Stop.
That was it. That was the only play he made the whole game.
Stop.
He was on one play. That's it.
Stop trying to discredit Aaron Donald.
Did he make one key play in the game? Yes or no? The answer is no, and you know it.
Stop trying to discredit Aaron Donald.
I'm not going to stop. I'm just starting.
Okay,
Best
I don't care.
Best player in the world, my ass. Doesn't show up in any big game.
You are 100% wrong, but I'm not going to keep debating this with you because we can debate this till we're blue in the face. Anyway, the two biggest plays of this game for me, on the Rams' opening drive, they are in position to score a touchdown. And they missed it on third down, and they were forced to settle for a field goal. I think it was, I don't remember if the Rams had the ball to start the second half.
Rams had the ball to start the second half, yes, because the Lions went down and got a score immediately opening drive.
Okay, so on the Rams' first possession of both the first half and the second half, they were in a position to score a touchdown. And they could not cash it in. They had to settle for a field goal. Those two plays were the deciding factor in this game, in my opinion. And before we go any further, let me say this. Thank you, Rams and Lions, for giving us a competitive game this weekend, because the rest of these games absolutely sucked ass.
That was harsh.
So thank you very much, Rams and Lions, for giving us a game that kept us on the edge of our seats, that went right down to the final minute. Thank you. And let me also say this. If I am the Detroit Lions, what I would have done at halftime is I would have gone up to Ben Johnson and said, how much money do you want? How long of a contract do you want? I would have given him a contract extension right then.
Well, you don't do that at halftime in the middle of a playoff game. Let the man focus on calling the second half.
I don't care. If I'm the Lions, I know they're focused on playing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this week. I get it. But I am going up to Ben Johnson and saying, how many years would you want on a contract extension? How much money would you want? And I would give him it right now. Do not let him leave that building. Do not.
So, my good buddy, Jalen Sandvik, who I mentioned a couple times on this show, loves the show. He's a huge Detroit Lions fan. Jalen, rooting for the Lions this weekend for you. But I've already told you, if you let Ben Johnson walk out of that building, as Josh is saying, you are going to regress. I will say this. There is one thing for Detroit that would concern me in this game if I was a Lions fan. Not only the secondary and the defense side of the ball. Offense side of the ball, we don't know how great of a game plan Ben Johnson at halftime. Josh said he would just give him a contract extension. I would counter to that and say they always scored a field goal in the second half. Now, they hung on to win, but the Rams outscored them 6-3 in the second half of this game. Raheem Morris, good defensive coordinator historically, made some good adjustments. Todd Bowles, a blitz-heavy scheme. If Tampa can get pressure on Jared Goff, which we know Goff struggles with pressure.
Sure.
I think the Lions should win this game. But Mr. Ungar, before the season, predicted that Jared Goff would be benched in the middle of the season. And yet here we are with Jared Goff having a chance to get the Lions to the NFC Championship game.
I was completely wrong about Jared Goff, and I'm glad I was wrong because I was rooting for him. You know, it's a pretty remarkable story. Jared Goff leads the LA Rams to the Super Bowl where Sean McVay got outcoached by Bill Belichick. We know the story there in one of the most boring Super Bowls ever, 13-3. But it was a defensive masterpiece by Bill Belichick. So yin and yang, I guess. But still, Jerry Goff then gets cast aside, and they bring in Matthew Stafford. We know what happened there. I still strongly dislike the LA Rams because of Stan Kroenke. He screwed over the city of St. Louis, and I will never forgive him for that. But anyway, so I love this for Jerry Goff. I really do.
Josh, for the record, you are frozen again on my end.
I apologize. It's something with my laptop or whatnot, but we're going to keep going regardless.
So with that in mind, let's add to the Chiefs-Dolphins matchup. Chiefs beat Miami 26-7. I said 2 minutes in, Josh, I thought the game was over. Miami looked cold. They did not look prepared. Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, they came out and they threw the football. They had some drops, but they came out and threw the football. Mike McDaniels running backwards, phone screens, and not wanting to attack by or rip it. Miami looked like a team that did not want to be there. And I think that this now is a real conversation for Miami. We know how great Tua is in September and October. The big question here for me is not only, excuse me, can you potentially not beat good teams, but can Miami even now trust themselves to go on the road and even win a game? Do you potentially say, hey, there's a guy out there who's a bigger, stronger, in my opinion? His name is Michael Penix, the quarterback at Washington who's entering the NFL draft. I think it's a big conversation that Miami should have this offseason.
I don't know if Miami would. Hold on. I think my computer's resetting or something.
Okay, you're still here. We can hear you.
Okay. I don't know if Miami would be in a position to do that. Again, I apologize for the technical difficulties. I have no idea what's going on. But I don't know if Miami would be in a position to draft Michael Penix Jr., but it's an interesting thought. But what have I been telling you the past few weeks about the Miami Dolphins?
You've been telling me that they were frauds, and I'm here to officially say, Josh, I think you were right. But I will say this. Miami on the road. I think Miami at home is a different team. I think they're like a basketball team. They're like a young basketball team that needs home court advantage. That's what Miami is.
Yeah, they needed to win the number 1 seed. They needed to get the number 2 seed, and they didn't do either one of those. They needed to beat the Ravens, got whooped. They needed to beat the Bills. They were in a position to do it, but they weren't unable to do it. Excuse me. But yeah, most of the season the Dolphins were more of a track team, and when they went up against a physical defense like your Philadelphia Eagles at the time, it just didn't work. I can try leaving the studio and then coming back in.
Yeah, I don't know if that's gonna work or not. If you want to go ahead and do that real quick, I can go ahead and get us started on the Bills Steelers matchup.
Yeah, go ahead and do that.
Okay, so while John's trying to fix his technical difficulties here, let's talk about Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. Obviously, this game was delayed 48 hours due to the huge snowstorm in Buffalo. Field was clear by the time this kicked off at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. yesterday afternoon. Josh Allen, that 50-yard touchdown run was incredible, but I thought Buffalo really set the tone early. They forced Mason Rudolph into turnovers. They got touchdowns. They're on 21 to nothing. They sort of took their foot a little bit off the gas, in my opinion, in the second half. But again, Pittsburgh was with Mason Rudolph, and I thought the only chance, really, the Steelers had at winning this game was that they were going to play in 3 feet of snow, was that there was going to be conditions where you couldn't see the field in front of you, was that the better running team was going to win. The Steelers have a lot of issues, not just an offensive coordinator. We have said, I don't think it's all on Matt Canada. Kenny Pickett is not the answer quarterback, and clearly Mason Rudolph and Mitch Trubisky are not either. Now, the Steelers did not have TJ Watt in this game. I did not think it would matter when you are at such a disadvantage at quarterback, when it's Mason Rudolph against Josh Allen. You really need a significant weather X factor, like a 3 feet of snow to level, excuse me, to level the playing field. So I do believe that Buffalo just outplayed Pittsburgh. I don't think the Steelers are even close. George Pickens, he's a good receiver. Deontay Johnson, he's a good receiver. Freiermuth, he's a good receiver. I think they need to focus on getting an OC upgrade, a quarterback upgrade, and an upgrade in the defensive backfield, because outside of Minkah Fitzpatrick, their secondary is not great. For Buffalo now, we get the rematch of the 2021 AFC divisional round. When that game went to overtime, Kansas City won the toss. The 13-second play, but Kansas City had Tyreek Hill in that game. As Josh is now back, let's see. Okay, we can see you now. You look good.
Okay, cool. That also gave me the opportunity to let out my dog because she was scratching at the door. So,
okay, so I was saying, this Bills Steelers game, obviously, it was delayed 48 hours due to the stay-at-home order that was Buffalo, the 3 feet of snow that was on the ground. I thought really it was the only chance for Pittsburgh to have a shot was that they were going to play in that weather, because Pittsburgh needed a great equalizer. When you were at such a disadvantage at quarterback, Mason Rudolph versus Josh Allen, and Josh Allen played incredible yesterday, including that 50-yard scamper to the end zone. I thought if Pittsburgh was, going to play in 3 feet of snow, they could run the ball, control the clock, maybe steal a victory. We said when Matt Canada was fired, it was not all Matt Canada's fault. They don't have an answer quarterback with Kenny Pickett, and clearly Mason Rudolph, Mitch Trubisky are not the answer. Mike Tomlin's going to come back, but TJ Watt being out
you don't
yesterday,
know about that.
Mike Tomlin has told his team he's coming back. So, yes, we can confirm that. He's expected to address the media later this week, but reportedly, Tomlin in the locker room told his team he will be the head coach of the Steelers next year.
It was interesting because if you saw the press conference, you know what I'm going to bring up.
I did, but that's Mike Tomlin's style. I don't make nothing out of that. I truly believe Tomlin will be the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers next year.
I think there is substance to him walking out when that question was being asked. I really do.
I don't think there's anything to it. I think it's a Mike Tomlin way, and I think Mike Tomlin will address the media at the appropriate time. But nonetheless, TJ Watt being out yesterday didn't make a huge difference. I don't think they would have won the game with them. They need an upgrade in the secondary, yes, but they have good offensive pieces, not great offensive pieces. I would move on from Najee Harris to the running back position if I could. I think Jaylen Warren's the better running back. And I do think you got to find a way to get a new quarterback. You got to get a new offensive coordinator, get some innovation going in this franchise that is sternly based on the defensive side of the football.
You were talking about Michael Penix earlier with the Dolphins. Here's an interesting one. What if the Steelers were able to trade up and go get the reigning Heisman Trophy winner from LSU, Jaden Daniels?
I don't think that's Pittsburgh's brand. I think they should do it. I don't think at all they will do it. I think Mike Tomlin and the Steelers, because I do think, again, Tomlin will be the head coach. They've only had 3 head coaches in like 75 years. It's just not what the Steelers do. The Steelers we're gonna draft a defensive back. We're gonna draft a linebacker. Toughness, culture, defense, and we're gonna win 10 games again. And we're gonna come back to Buffalo or Kansas City or Baltimore, where the hell we have to play, and we're gonna get blown out again. That is the Steeler way. Win 9, 10 games every year. Care about that streak of never having a losing season and then getting humiliated in the playoffs because they have not won a playoff game since they had that game against Kansas City where they kicked 6 field goals. And they outside of that game, where they beat Alex Smith, the last couple QBs they beat in the playoffs were Matt Moore with the Dolphins when they were coached by Adam Gase.
Yeah. Excuse me. I do like George Pickens at wide receiver and Deontay Johnson, so I think they have a couple nice pieces. I wouldn't say Deontay Johnson or George Pickens are great wide receivers. They can be, but they're not there yet. But yeah, we get to see Patrick Mahomes against Josh Allen again. But this time,
yes,
it's going to be.
This time it is Buffalo, and I was just getting to it as you jumped back on the call. This was the last time these two teams played in the playoffs was obviously the 13 seconds game, Mahomes to Tyreek Hill, and obviously the overtime play. The crazy thing about this is that's the last time Kansas City beat Buffalo. Buffalo has Kansas City's number. They are red hot right now.
That's the issue, though, is Josh Allen in the playoffs against Mahomes is 0-2. He can't.
But in those 2 games, he played great.
Oh, right. I'm not trying to discredit Josh Allen by any stretch of the imagination, but stats or facts are facts. Josh Allen is 0-2 against Patrick Mahomes. Now,
so, I'll say this. I lean Buffalo in this game. I'm leaning.
I need Buffalo to win because I do not like the Kansas City Chiefs anymore. I don't. They are the darlings of the referees. Mahomes has gotten way too cocky, and it's just starting to rub me the wrong way. So Buffalo, please beat the Kansas City Chiefs.
So Kansas City's going to be on the road for the first time in the Mahomes era. That's very fascinating. I'm going to say something that I thought of today, and you may agree with me. You may think I'm crazy. I am putting my pencil down here like Coach Pencil. One Kelsey just retired today. I believe this upcoming Sunday, another Kelsey will be playing his last game in the National Football League. I think Travis Kelsey is going to retire if Kansas City loses this game. There are reports out there he's getting engaged this summer to one Taylor Swift. And, karma is her boyfriend, apparently. Karma is the god, if you get my drift here, Mr. Unger. But, excuse me, Kelsey is not as explosive anymore. He does not look like the same player. He looks like Gronkowski at the end with New England. I think this is it for Kelsey, no matter what happens, especially, by the way, if they do end up going and winning the Super Bowl.
I get what you're saying. I don't think it's going to happen. But I understand it. My aunt, by the way, does not believe those reports about Travis Kelsey and Taylor Swift getting engaged this summer because they haven't even been together for a year as of yet. So we shall see. But, Buffalo, please beat Kansas City this weekend. Please. I don't want to see the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game again. I don't want to see the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. I do not.
Okay, so before we move on to the NBA, quickly here, all of our playoff games are done. We have talked about every one of the wildcard games. Let's give our predictions, not what we want to happen, what we think will happen. What will be the AFC Championship game? I'll start first in saying I think that the Baltimore Ravens will host the Buffalo Bills, and I'm so not confident about that answer because I don't like picking against Kansas City because I know what's going to freaking happen.
All right. I'll go for the NFC Championship because you and I agree on the AFC Championship. As much as I would love to see an all NFC North NFC Championship game, I think San Francisco's defense is not going to get fooled by all the pre-snap motion and stuff that Green Bay does. I think they will. So I think the 49ers will host Jared Goff, Dan Campbell, and those knee-biting Detroit Lions.
I agree with you.